What happens when an unstoppable force meets a guy who thinks he's an immovable object? In the world of martial arts, some stories are just too good to be true. And the tale of a young, confident Steven Seagal making a bold challenge to the master Bruce Lee is one of the best. The alleged proposal: stand against me for 30 seconds and I'll call you master. The rumored result: a fight that lasted only 7 seconds. It's a legend whispered in dojos and debated endlessly online. But is there any truth to it, or is it all just smoke and mirrors? First, to get the myth, you have to get the men. And Bruce Lee was more than a man, he was a phenomenon. Born in San Francisco and raised in Hong Kong, Lee started with Wing Chun but quickly realized that no single style had all the answers. He wasn't just a fighter, he was a philosopher of combat. He famously told his students to be like water, able to adapt and flow around any obstacle. This philosophy became Jeet Kune Do, the way of the intercepting fist. It wasn't some rigid style, but a framework for finding your own personal expression in a fight. Lee borrowed from boxing, fencing, and anything else that worked, and threw out everything that didn't. He was obsessed with efficiency. That legendary speed wasn't just good genes, it was the product of relentless, fanatical training. His 1-inch punch, which could generate terrifying force from a standstill, proved he was a master of turning biomechanics into pure, explosive power. By the early 1970s, Bruce Lee was a global icon. He'd conquered Hollywood, smashed stereotypes, and become the first Asian international superstar. He trained other huge stars like Steve McQueen and James Coburn, and his movies like Enter the Dragon changed martial arts on screen forever. But don't get it twisted. The movie star charm was backed up by very real skill, honed in everything from rooftop challenges in Hong Kong to sparring sessions that humbled seasoned fighters. Bruce Lee didn't just play a hero on screen, he had the goods to back it up. While Lee was taking over the world, another American was quietly forging his own path on the other side of it. Steven Seagal, born in 1952, fell in love with martial arts early on. But unlike Lee's mix-and-match approach, Seagal went all in on one traditional art, Aikido. In 1971, Seagal made the rare and ambitious move to Japan as a young man of 19. He dove headfirst into the world of Aikido, a complex Japanese art all about joint locks, throws, and using an attacker's own momentum against them. Aikido isn't about striking, it's about control, blending with an opponent's force and redirecting it to shut them down. Seagal excelled, eventually earning a 7th Dan black belt and later an 8th Dan, and making history as the first foreigner to operate his own dojo in Japan. That's a huge deal. Standing at an imposing 6'4", Seagal's sheer size, paired with his deep knowledge of Aikido's leverage-based techniques, made him a formidable presence. When he returned to the US and burst into Hollywood with movies like Above the Law*, he showed a whole new audience the brutal, wrist-snapping efficiency of Aikido. His on-screen character was an untouchable, unstoppable master who could end a fight with a flick of the wrist. This image, both on and off-screen, built his own legend as a true and deadly martial artist. So this brings us to the legend itself. The story, which has a million different versions online, usually takes place in the early 1970s. A young, brash Steven Seagal, brimming with confidence from his intense training in Japan, supposedly crosses paths with Bruce Lee. Sometimes it's at a tournament, other times he just shows up at Lee's house uninvited. The heart of the story is always the challenge. Seagal, towering over Lee, makes his audacious offer: stand with me for 30 seconds and I'll call you master. It's pure ego. It's a direct challenge to Lee's entire philosophy, implying that his fast, flashy strikes are just for movies, while Aikido's grappling is for real-world combat. As the legend goes, Bruce Lee calmly accepts. What happens next is a blur. The story claims Lee didn't even have to use his hands. As Seagal closes the distance to get a grip, which is essential for almost every Aikido technique, Lee just explodes with a flurry of kicks. Before Seagal can even figure out what's happening, it's over. The fight lasts all of 7 seconds. Some versions of the tale even add the dramatic flair of an ambulance being called for the humbled Seagal. It's the perfect David versus Goliath story, a lesson in humility, and the ultimate testament to Bruce Lee's god-tier skills. It's a fantastic story. The only problem, there is absolutely zero credible evidence that any of it ever happened. Let's start with the most glaring issue, the timeline. Bruce Lee tragically died in July 1973. Throughout the early 70s, when this legendary fight was supposedly happening, Steven Seagal wasn't some master challenging legends in the US. He was a young man who had moved to Japan in 1971 to immerse himself in Aikido. In fact, records show he didn't even earn his first-degree black belt until around 1974, a year asterisk after Lee had passed away. There's just no window where a brash, accomplished Seagal could have been in the US to challenge a peak-era Bruce Lee. So where did the story come from? You'll find it almost exclusively in the wild west of online forums and YouTube channels, usually citing anonymous friends or stories passed down with no proof. Channels like Beardy Bruce Lee Central have kept the myth alive, sometimes twisting interviews to fit the narrative. For instance, a clip of Seagal talking about a fight has been passed around as proof. But if you watch the whole thing, he's clearly talking about choreographing a fight scene with Dan Inosanto, one of Bruce Lee's most famous students, for the 1991 movie Out for Justice *. Steven Seagal himself has never claimed he fought Bruce Lee. He's mentioned meeting Lee through a mutual friend, but the stories are inconsistent and the timelines don't add up. It's far more likely this is just a piece of internet folklore, a myth created by fans who wanted to imagine a clash between two titans. While the fight is almost certainly a myth, the what if is just too juicy to ignore. Who would actually win? To figure that out, you have to look at what each art is all about. Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do is built on speed, adaptability, and attacking directly. It's designed to intercept an opponent's move before it even gets started. Lee himself was critical of what he called classical messes or arts that were too rigid. He apparently saw the value in Aikido's joint locks for self-defense against a grab, but felt it would fall apart against a skilled striker who could manage distance. Steven Seagal's Aikido is the exact opposite. It's a purely defensive art that relies on turning an attacker's own aggression and momentum against them with leverage and joint manipulation. An Aikido master wants to blend with an attack, not meet it head-on, and control the fight at close range. In a hypothetical prime vs prime fight, most experts would give the win to Bruce Lee. The reason is simple: speed kills. For Aikido to be at its most effective, it needs an opponent to commit to an attack, usually a grab or a predictable lunge. But Bruce Lee's style was anything but predictable. He used feints, broken rhythms, and explosive footwork to create openings and stay out of trouble. He likely never would have given Seagal the chance to establish the grip-based control that Aikido depends on. Lee's philosophy was to be the water that flows around the rock. In this matchup, Seagal's powerful, rooted stance would, unfortunately for him, probably be the rock. The story of Seagal's challenge and Lee's 7-second beatdown is an incredible piece of martial arts mythology. It sticks around not because it's true, but because it feels true. It taps into that eternal debate: specialist vs generalist, tradition versus innovation, control versus chaos. The legend has become a cautionary tale about ego and the massive gap between being confident and being a true master. Bruce Lee's legacy isn't just about his fighting ability. It's about his constant search for truth in combat, and his courage to throw away anything that didn't work. This fictional story, ironically, just makes his real-life legend even stronger, reinforcing his status as the kind of master whose skills were so great that even a made-up victory sounds completely believable. So what do you think? If you enjoyed this takedown of a martial arts urban legend, make sure to like and subscribe for more untold stories and analysis. Let us know in the comments who you think would really win and why.